Off we go. Today's topic is vocabulary. Here is my screen. Vocabulary, beautiful. In German, we have a beautiful word for vocabulary. It's called Wortschatz, the word treasure, but English is just vocabulary. Very likely coming from vocal, something that you vocalize. So one question to all of you. What is the most important thing that decides over your language learning success? Just curious. What do you think is really the thing without which you could completely forget about your German learning? And trust me, it's a trick question. Huh? Not like in an exam where they're nice to you. Motivation, that's beautiful. Definitely. Other guesses. Vocabulary, yeah, somehow. You could actually speak without vocabulary. Just nobody would understand you. Time, wish, communicate, motivation. Viel to üben. Good. These are all beautiful answers, and they're, of course, all important. But the one thing without which you would never learn German is a very surprising thing, your health. I know you don't expect that. I will go more into details. But health, if you are ill or your life is a mess, forget about learning anything. Yeah, you are in survival mode. That's a different thing than learning. You might learn something while you survive, because learning is surviving. So I want to actually stress this a little bit. We'll not go into too much detail. What does that mean? Don't worry, there will not be a preaching about what to eat and to move your ass, but just a little stimulation to think. There's physical health. Physical health, very simple. Again, no preaching. Keep an eye on your diet. Move and take rest. Do I have anything else? Yeah, get a checkup. Very simple. Diet, just eat something balanced. If you want to have an extreme diet, you better have extreme reasons for it. I personally don't care. What's most important is that you actually develop an awareness of, is that stuff good? Do I feel better after eating or do I feel worse? That's something you can actually develop. I learned that late in my life. I was eating shit for years and have a good physical basis condition. So I'm in good shape, but I'm in better shape since then. Movement doesn't mean you have to do sports or CrossFit, yeah, or lifting weights. You just move. You go for a walk for half an hour. It's the beginning. Not everyone benefits from jogging. Take rest, get sleep. If you don't sleep well, look into it. Why not? If you are not rested, your learning will always be subpar, worse than it could be. Very simple. Get a better mattress, get curtains, have a mask, or put earplugs in your ears. Very simple measures. And if you snore, maybe you snore and you have apnoea, sleep apnoea, get it checked out. So physical checkup should actually happen every couple of years, and they will tell you, even though it costs money in your country, totally worth it. Yeah. And you can also go to alternative medicine men. It doesn't matter. As long as you take a look and care of your body. Without your body and without your mind, you're nothing. Well, you're possibly everything, but at least when it comes to learning and interacting with others. So mental peace. If you have skeletons in your closet, maybe over the years, take a look at how you could get them out of there. Yeah, because they will eat you up from the inside. Manage your expectations. If you have high expectations that are beyond your possibilities, they will eat you up from the inside. If you are a warrior with an O, not with an A, the warrior, look into the source of this. Why do you worry? There is ways to actually worry less. Yeah, and these things come not out of my own life only, but also from looking at the world around me and the people that actually work with my courses. There's a lot of worriers out there. Yeah, and my main job is to actually help them find peace of mind. So if you can generate peace of mind, you have a solid base for learning German. So that was a basic introduction. Now let's go to the main topic. But honestly, these things, very simple. And trust me, most of the people that fail learning German struggle with one of these. So I come up with a nice acronym that is HEAT. So if you're in heat, you can learn German. You're healthy. HEAT is about how to learn vocabulary. Exposure, you need to be exposed to a lot of vocabulary. I go into detail after that. Active recall is important. What that means, I will show you. Activity is important as opposed to passiveness, passivity, and time. And these are the main topics in the beginning, and near the end I will show you tips and tricks and a couple of principles that you need to understand in order to fully comprehend the learning process and benefit from it. Yeah, the ultimate result is you benefiting from this presentation. Now, what do I mean with exposure? You want to learn a language, you want to learn vocabulary. In order to do that, you need to expose yourself to language, to words, and you do so by reading and listening. Very simple, right? This is how you interact with the world. You hear sounds and you see stuff. And of course you feel stuff, but it's difficult to feel language. You can maybe feel here, but very few of us do that. You feel your voice, but reading and listening are the main means to get vocabulary into our system. Now, what to read and what to listen? That's always a question. And again, I go into more detail about techniques and principles, but the first thing I can only advise you, follow your heart. Do not read stuff just because you want to learn a language. If there's nothing else, sure. But if you have a choice and can read something that you actually would fully enjoy reading, if you understood everything, go for that. Of course, you will not understand much. Who cares? Yeah, if you work with the right approach, which I will, of course, introduce you to, or at least show you where you can find that approach, then this is the way to go. Follow your heart. So what I always say, rather read Harry Potter than an artificially put together text that someone says is an easy reader. Easy readers are not as bad. Yeah, they're fine as long as they're entertaining. I've done that myself. But let's say you want to read something complicated. You want to become an engineer. You already start. Well, then it's your heart. How to say, don't read textbooks for fun. Textbooks are there for course, for classes, but don't read them for fun. Don't read texts you wouldn't read if you have a choice. Don't read kids stuff and don't read Goethe. So kids stuff, either it's very simple and it's an insult to your brain. You can learn a couple of words. If you don't have to buy them and have them lie around, sure, read them. But if you buy a children's book for $10 and learn 20 words and you have to learn 2,000, so that's 100 times 10. It's $1,000 just for children's books. The good stuff for the kids is actually pretty challenging. It's beautiful, but it's B2 stuff. Yeah. Goethe, beautiful stuff for those who like it. I managed to read through Faust at least, and possibly Faust too. I'm not a big fan of that kind of literature. Nevertheless, I can see the beauty. If you want to read this, do so after B2 C1. Yeah, that makes your life a lot easier. If you are in for a challenge, go for it. So take something that is digestible. Again, maybe something that you've read in your mother tongue already and know by heart. Like I always recommend Harry Potter because everybody knows it. I started reading English with very little knowledge of English. I started reading Lord of the Rings back in the days, and Stephen King, these criminal things and mystery stories. They have simple vocabulary. Lord of the Rings I cannot recommend. You have to bite your way through, but after a certain amount of pages, you kind of get the gist of things. If you do these things, and the same is valid for listening. Yeah, listen to things you are interested in. I wouldn't listen to Dora the Explorer necessarily, but that's possibly even better than reading it. So listen to interviews with people. That's language spoken. The problem with interviews is people speak as they do in everyday life, unless they are trained speakers. So you can listen to audiobooks as well and audio plays, which I recommend. Manage expectations means if you do this, do not expect to understand much. Even though it is recommended that you read stuff or listen to stuff that you already pretty well understand in the beginning, that's not a given. So if you open Harry Potter and you expect, okay, I get the gist of it in German, I actually will recognize the things I've read in English, fine. Yeah. And then you can leave all the words you don't understand at peace where they are. So you don't read to fully understand every single thing. You read to get the gist of things and see how much you can expand that understanding over time. And while you do that, you keep a dictionary diet. Yeah, everyone who has done a diet knows diet means reduce. Well, unless you do some weird diet where you can eat whatever you want and just get a liposuction afterwards. So dictionary diet means you shouldn't look up every word you don't understand. You would spend more time with the dictionary than with a book. There's different ways to approach reading. It would be a different masterclass. I teach this way in my free first lesson, so you can maybe check it there. It means you look up 5 to 10 words. And you see if looking up 10 words frustrates you, look up fewer words and live with not knowing. In general, your first year of learning German, unless you're a bit faster, maybe the first half year of German, is having to live with not knowing. And trust me, your mind hates this. 99% of the questions I get is because the mind hates not knowing. And if I wait long enough, the question answers itself. Yeah. Next step was active recall. Shall we talk about the Bible quickly? The Bible, well, those who like to read the Bible are highly motivated, so that might get you through this. Give it a try. In the end, it's up to you. You give it a try and you see, I can do that. Yeah, but there might be lighter books to work through because the Bible uses pretty archaic language, and I wouldn't consider it beginner's material. But give it a try. Maybe it's something you enjoy, but maybe do not use it as an only resource because, again, that language is never spoken that you read there. Yeah, and the words that you have there are also rarely found outside of the Bible. So it's the downer. Yeah, and Bible, Quran, Torah, whatever you want to read, whatever religious book, they are pretty advanced. I would do that after B2 or C1 even. Now, active recall. It's no problem to memorize a lot of things. The biggest problem people have is remembering when they need it. So the opposite of active recall is passive review. And let's take a look at things. So how do you actively recall things? By writing a test. It doesn't have to be a test with examiners and an examination room. Testing could be a simple question in your vocab app. It could be just writing a little text. It could be a little exercise where your knowledge is requested. Yeah, testing is one of the best ways to recall because you actively have to dig into your memory and remember these things. I say something about that later because it's actually the more difficult thing than as compared to memorizing things. Visualization is something it doesn't feel too exhausting, but it's actually very active. So let's say I always recommend people when they read the text for understanding and they have a rough understanding of what they're reading, that they visualize whatever they can. By visualization, I do not mean that you have a crystal clear image like a 4K computer screen. Visualizing, everybody can do. Everybody, even a blind person. Yeah, how they do that, I don't know, but you can visualize sounds. It's also fine. Yeah. So visualizing means if I say, think of your mother, assuming that you remember her, or think of the person you grew up with. Think of a banana. Whatever comes up at that moment, that's visualization. And that might be just a rough outline, might be an idea of a banana, might be the sound, taste, feel of a banana. That's visualizing. Yeah. And everybody can do that. If you cannot do that, you belong to a very small group of people who have aphantasia. There's not much you can do about it, but that's such a rare thing. And even then, you don't need visualization. Absolutely not. But it will help. Producing the knowledge you have, you use it to produce new things. Let's say you learn words and you kind of put them in sentences together, or you use them when you speak. Yeah, so using them, using what you have learned, basically. Taking notes, actually, just out of curiosity, who's taking notes here? Nobody, right? Because you think, I get the replay tomorrow. Why would I take notes? Note-taking is among the most misunderstood techniques out there. I recommend taking notes, but it needs to be done properly, because often for many people, also in my school and university times, people were not taking notes, they were transcribing the whole lesson. And that's not an idea. It's not about writing down everything. Yeah. And Hank is taking notes. Thank you, Hank. So good. So taking notes forces you to select. This selection process, depending on the situation, but in such things like here, it can and very likely will enhance your capability to recall the information. You will never ever have to check your notes again. So reviewing notes is something I wouldn't bother with. I took notes for 3 years in school. I went back to school after working for 3.5 years. And I took notes in form of mind maps, which forced me, I can't recommend that, but I did that at the time because I liked it. And had something to scribble around because the lessons were so la most of the time. But somehow it forced me to select, and the information got stored. I got a really good grade at the end, God knows how. But this is one of the explanations I have for that. When I tried to look at those notes, I couldn't make any sense of it because it was too much time passed. If you do it the day after, that's fine. But if you take notes in smarter German, you do not have to review them. Yeah, you can try and see, but if it takes you too much time, more than 10 minutes, I wouldn't bother. Because it's more about the selection process, that you really actively choose what you want to remember or what you want to note down. And that helps you to deepen your processing level. Yeah, this is not a scientific guarantee here. I haven't read any science on that, but this is my personal experience with my own notes and looking at how people take notes. Writing everything down without selection is a complete waste of time, unless you are someone who has to transcribe things for court. The next thing is analyzing. If you analyze things, that's beautiful, it makes you happy. So many people get goosebumps when they think of analyzing. They think, oh God, I cannot do that. Or they think of their psychoanalyst and have bad memories. But analyzing is actually pretty simple and almost everybody can do it. Now, of course, in a new language, it's difficult because to analyze something, you need to have a certain base knowledge. The good thing is, in my course, and you see that in the first lesson, you can already see that I analyze every single sentence. Later, not every single sentence, because the words repeat themselves and the knowledge grows, your knowledge grows. And that helps you to understand what's happening. It's basically, I'm a scientist, you watch me do my science, but I do it in a way that you like it. It's a little bit like, how do you call these people on TV or on YouTube who do beautiful experiments and colorful smoke and foam comes out and makes everything dirty? So I do something like this. It's just less dynamic, let's call it, less explosive, but nevertheless thrilling and lovely. Now, passive review, you read, you watch without any effort. So if you just read and watch, I wouldn't say it's without benefits. It is, of course, good to expose yourself to as much audio and video. Video, not necessarily. The watching basically means listening. I forgot listening here. But I call this passive learning. So you do this in the background. You don't count that as learning time when you're commuting somewhere or you're on your bike. If you have it on an appropriate volume, you expose your brain to that. So what you learn from that is not vocabulary, but rather intonation or melody. Yeah. And these things, you will very rarely learn vocabulary by just passively exposing yourself to stuff. Again, imagine listening being written there. And then there's something in between, multiple choice. It's a bit questionable. We're still working with it. It's not that harmful, but somehow multiple choices, like it's very easy to recognize the correct, well, very easy, depends. But often it's very easy to recognize the right answer out of 4. If you do Memrise, or some people work with Anki, I'm not sure whether Anki offers that feature, but Memrise offers multiple choice questions. And for me, it's usually there's always something I can recognize and then can associate the correct answer with the question. Yeah, so I would say it's something in between. It's rather weak. Last thing, and very short thing, time. Who has time these days? Yeah? Who has time? What is time? Time. You can't accelerate the speed in which your brain processes information. No matter how hard you try, you can take all the drugs in the world. Yeah, if you watch Hollywood movies, you may think there are drugs out there that can help you. Trust me, I haven't found a drug yet that helps me to process information. What drugs do sometimes is they help you focus, but they come with a side effect, with a price. So if you take Ritalin, for example, and I'm not sure what they take in the US nowadays, there's something else, but Ritalin was the hot shit for a while. It comes with a downside. Adderall, that's the name exactly. You pay dearly for taking these things. Yeah. And however you justify it, it's up to you. It's your health. It's your brain. What you can do is that remove obstacles. There is plenty of obstacles you put in your own way. And I say you because that's the stuff you can influence. If there's obstacles on the outside, there's possibly nothing you think you can do. How to remove obstacles, that's, well, another topic. And I addressed it here and there in my course. In the initial slide about health was about removing obstacles. These are obstacles. If you are ill, that's an obstacle. Yeah. If your life is a mess, that's an obstacle. And yeah, very simple. And there's other obstacles, like you live in a noisy environment. There's an obstacle that you don't have money. Can be an obstacle because maybe you cannot, you're worried about where to get the money for the rent and stuff. All these things, that's basically part of life is a mess. All you have to do, language learning is very easy actually. So if you remove the obstacles, you just speed things up. But all you have to do is to stick with it long enough, and that's my job, to help you stick with it long enough. Keep working, and you will learn German. Yeah, to some extent, or a better extent. There's, of course, it depends on many, many factors, how well you learn, how fast you learn, but you can't accelerate your biological speed of processing information, no matter how hard you try. So stick with it. And to keep working, of course, you need motivation. All the reasons you mentioned you responded to on my initial question were, of course, important. They keep you going. My job is to help you keep going. And I do what I can. And if you reach out to me, I will do anything I can to share my experience with you and point you in the right direction. Here's a beautiful German saying, wenn du es eilig hast, gehe langsam. If you are in a hurry, move slowly, walk slowly. Digest that. Sit on it for half an hour, not now, later. Beautiful. Yeah, I don't say anything to that. You get that.